Welcome to the topic of diversity. Thought it would be fitting to start the week off with a quote from Anais Nin. She says, "We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are." Take a second to think about what this means to you. We each have a perspective, and that's okay. That perspective has been shaped by our experiences, our backgrounds, our opinions, and everything else that makes us who we are. But this week is also about exploring. That could be exploring our biases, gaining knowledge, and even challenging some of our previously unchallenged assumptions. This week, you'll be exposed to a variety of issues related to diversity. There's some suggestions for getting the most out of this material. The first is that I would invite you to be open-minded. If you're closed off, you're going to miss an opportunity to learn something new. Secondly, I would say step outside of your comfort zone. You'll have a choice between many different options since the topic of diversity is far too broad for us to cover all of them. Choose to learn about topics that aren't already familiar to you. That way, you learn the most. Although we have separated this topic for the purposes of this class, it really cannot be separated from the rest of the topics related to our career development curriculum. Diversity infuses into all aspects of career development. Just look at the workplace today. It's so incredibly diverse. And as many of you know, companies operate on a global level, which is making learning about diversity even more important today. We each have a unique combination of identity factors that interact with the world and our personal environment in different ways. Many of these interactions and influences happen at a subtle level that we are not always aware of. For instance, your initial reaction to this video is influenced by many different things, but undoubtedly, it is in part due to the effects of my gender. Can you for a moment think about how your reaction might have been different if I were a male? Gender, for example, is one of the most powerful and foundational forces of diversity in our culture, and it affects many of our interactions. Many students ask, what do you even mean by diversity? And that's a great question. An easy way to think about what diversity is comprised of is Pamela Hayes' addressing model. Each letter refers to a certain identity factor that's a part of diversity. And make a note that this isn't the most comprehensive list, but it's an easy one to think of some of the most important identity factors. These include age, a developmental disability, or a disability you were born with, or a disability that was acquired, like an accident that renders somebody a quadriplegic or Alzheimer's, religion and spirituality, ethnicity and race, which we'll talk about more in the next slide, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, which is similar to class, indigenous status, nationality, and gender. It's important to note the difference between some of the most common identity factors that are discussed. And these would be the difference between race, ethnicity, and culture. Race is the most broad category, and it refers to a group of people who share the same physical characteristics, such as skin tone, hair texture, and facial features. Some examples include African American, Asian, or Caucasian. Ethnicity is a little bit more specific, as it refers to membership in a culturally and geographically defined group. And this group may share language, cultural practices, religion, and other aspects. For example, you may be ethnically Italian or Armenian, where racially both of those are going to fall under the category of Caucasian. But ethnically, Italians and Armenians are very, very diverse and different. Culture refers to the characteristics of a particular group of people, again defined by anything from language and religion, cuisine, social habits, norms, music, or arts. And these characteristics accumulate over time and are passed down from generation to generation. So a religious culture that's passed down for thousands of years, we can see that each of these three categories can interplay with one another in a lot of different possibilities. Our discussion about diversity wouldn't be complete without addressing the S word. A stereotype is a conventional, formulaic, and oversimplified conception, opinion, or image. If stereotypes can be so harmful, why do we continue to use them? Well, it's important to know what they do. Stereotypes are shortcuts for our brains. Instead of processing large amounts of complicated information, our brains have this amazing ability to process lots of complicated information in a very short amount of time. For instance, every time you walk past a tree, do you go up to it, consider the leaves and the texture of the leaves, smell it, look at the bark, look at the tree's height and width, and think to yourself, is this a walnut tree or an oak tree or a juniper tree? I want to make sure that I don't stereotype this tree and I really see it for everything that it is. Of course not, right? That would be such a tedious kind of world if we each had to do that every single time we were presented with new information. And so stereotypes constantly help us in the world because they're efficient and really quick ways for our brains to process information. However, this can be kind of difficult when we're not thinking about a tree, but we're thinking about people, right? Many of these biases are negative, and we're not consciously aware of them. They're automatic thoughts, and many times we end up placing people or things into categories that may not even accurately describe them, right? So since they are automatic, to counter them, we have to work hard to recognize, one, that they're happening, right? That we have these automatic biases, and everyone does. You can't be human without stereotyping. It is part of our genetic makeup and the way our brains work. And so you can take the judgment out of it and just realize, hey, we all have them. But after we recognize that we have them, then it really is our responsibility to think about them more accurately and say, is this really, correct? Is this a most accurate way of thinking about this person or this category? Maybe I need to do some work to check some of the stereotypes that I have. I would encourage you, as you go back to Blackboard for directions on the other activities, readings, and assignments, to use those various activities that you can choose from to uncover and address some of the stereotypes that you have. And hopefully you can do this in a very objective, non-judgmental, and honest way, right? This is about your learning and development. And also, as you venture into the rest of the week, keep asking yourself, what are the benefits of learning about diversity? What are the benefits to uncovering and addressing your stereotypes to your personal career development? Let's not forget the context of our class. Remember that I mentioned that the workplace is becoming increasingly diverse. How can learning about diversity make you a better person and also a better and more marketable employee? Enjoy!